on.
Welcome to the
Hi.
podcast.
Well, thank you for having me. I appreciate you. How are you?
I'm good. We've literally just been yabbering for minutes and we're both gone, oh shit, maybe we should hit record.
Yes. Yes. Yeah. That way we can catch
Oh
everything
my
because
God.
this is gonna get deep really quick. But that's what she
Yeah,
said.
I think
Yeah.
you're so
Sorry,
my
that was not
vibe.
good. Thank you. Yes. All the
Oh
way
my
through.
God.
Yes.
Look, I have seen a lot of your stuff. I've read a lot of
Mm-hmm.
things and I love how you operate. I love that you're no bullshit. You're so like me.
Mm-hmm.
It's so good.
Yes.
That's why you're here because I like-minded people
Yeah.
talking on here. And
Thank you.
I've read that you've
Thank you.
had like obviously you're a psychic medium for everybody who doesn't know, but you've had four
Mm-hmm.
near-death experiences. Like that is not
Mm-hmm.
something that we hear every single day. Are you happy to share your story
Yeah.
and like how you came into mediumship and all these near death
Yeah.
stuff? I'm super fascinated.
So long story short, sorry, I'm like planning where do you begin. I'm not gonna bore everybody, but essentially long story short, when I was 5, so I'll be 37 in or like I'm on level 37 in a month, right? So that's coming up. But so when I was 5, I had Wilms tumor. So essentially it's a cancer that attacks your endocrine system and I was on stage 4. So I lost my kidney, part of my intestines and part of my liver. And by the time they found it had already metastasized essentially to everywhere. It was surrounding my my spine, part of my spine and stuff like that. And so they went in and at that point in time, they didn't know a whole lot about this, cancer. And so they were like, oh, she has, a 15% chance of living, like all that jazz. And so they went in and they did the surgery. The tumor was so vascular. It was the size of a volleyball inside of a 5-year-old, like that big. It was huge. I mean, you could see it, but they just kept saying, well, we'd go to the doctor. They'd be like, oh, well, she has liver issues. And then I started having bigger and worse fevers and pain. And so they finally sent me and yeah. Anyways, when they had the surgery, because it was so vascular, I ended up bleeding out on the table, which ended up causing me to die on the table while having surgery. And then they were able to get me back and do blood transfusions. I was in ICU. I was in the hospital for, quite a few months. And then I was able to come out of it and everything was okay. So essentially, I don't really remember a whole lot before I was 5 or even 4. So essentially, I've been doing this my whole life. And so I remember one of the first weird experiences that I had, or thinking this is a little bit different, is, when you're a little kid, you didn't watch the news, you didn't look at the weather, like none of that existed. You didn't look at the months or anything. And I was born in 1988. So I remember walking outside, this was probably 1996 or 1997. I remember walking outside. And I remember having this feeling that winter was about to be here. Mind you, and I'm in Texas, so it's hot as balls all the way to the end of December. Like we get like 2 weeks of what is that? Less than 37 degrees Celsius. Like it's not, it's hot, hot, hot. And so I remember going outside and being like, it's going to be winter soon. I can feel it. And I remember walking inside and my mom was cooking in the kitchen. I said, Mom, I know it's about to be winter. I can feel it. And she was like, what are you talking about? And I was like, I don't know. And then I went back in my room and blah, 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 la. And then a couple of weeks later, or I guess it probably maybe like a year later, this is my other weird thing that I remember and I've talked about this on Bunny and Jelly Roll's podcast, is that we were at the grocery store. There was a grocery store called Randall's, and we were going down the noodle and the coffee aisle. So like pasta was on the left, coffee was on the right, and my sister was riding up top, and I was underneath the buggy because that's what you do when you're the little sister. And I remember my mom was stopping, and she was looking at all the noodles, and there was this woman, probably in her 60s, longer, kind of curly, all gray hair. And she's picking up this bag of coffee. And I remember hearing and feeling her being like, I'm going to pick the second bag below it. Like she's going to put that back and she's going to buy the coffee 2 rows below it. And I was watching her. And she put it back and she grabbed the second one and put it in her cart. And I remember as my mom pulls away, I was like, Mom, she goes, what? I said, do you hear people's thoughts? Do you know what they're going to do? And my sister was like, Amie, that's stupid, like that or whatever it is. And my mom's like, no. And then I was like, okay, blah, 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 just like back to normal, like those little things, right? So those are kind of like the weird little things. And that would just continuously happen. And then when I was, fast forward to when how old was I? 15. at that point, 15, I was a sophomore. I would play violin. So I was doing like professional violinist. I did that all through college, like viola, the whole thing. And so now obviously I don't because I have nails on, right? But I had a violin instructor and I didn't know it at the time, but she had meningitis. She had bacterial meningitis. And so she came in and she was, obviously teaching me, had no idea. I took a sip of her water because that's what we used to do back then, right? And essentially I ended up getting bacterial meningitis. And so I had it for about a week before I knew it. I remember being at school and I was in Latin because I would take Latin. It was like my favorite language to learn because it was a dead language. And I remember being there and I'm essentially passing out because of how much pressure. My eyeballs are popping out of my head. They end up sending me to the nurse. The nurse is like, go home. We go home. We went to the doctor and the doctor's like, oh, she just has migraines. It's fine. So they take me home again. I'm at home for another week. It's going septic. And so essentially my dad ends up finding me. My mom was a school teacher at that point. He comes in and he's like, Amie, wake up, wake up. And I'm septic. I'm like at the point of no return. So they call the ambulance, they get me in it, they take me down to Texas Children's Hospital, and I don't remember anything. I don't remember how I got there, but I ended up waking up about a week later and I had gone septic. I had because I had only had one kidney and because I didn't know at the time, but I was chronically ill and everything, they had to bring me back. I ended up coding on the way down to the hospital. And after that, this is the weird part. This is how I realized that music is everything. Everything in life is music. Your vibration, frequency, words, how you are, everything is a wave. And I think that's why I was a musician and why I did it so well for a while. But when I got back, I had been the first chair violinist in like the top orchestra inside of high school, right? And I had gone through and done these competitions, but my teacher was just like, you know what, you have really big hands. Didn't know at the time that was because of my disorder that I had. They were like, why don't you go and try to play the viola? It's a different clef, it's a different thing. And they're like, it's probably going to take you a couple years, but you'll be really good at it. Over the summer, which was only 8 weeks, I went through and I learned how to do it. And then that next year, I became the #1 violist in the state of Texas. And my orchestra teacher was mad. He actually demoted me because he was so pissed that I had become #1 and he thought that I did something. And so he demoted me from being in the top orchestra because all these students were mad that I had made it and beat them out. And my parents got pissed. They're like, why? They're like, oh, well, she's just too cocky. We need to put her down. Like it was that. It is as stupid as, and he went through a couple years later. I mean, a couple years after I graduated, apologized for that. But I think that it has something to do with having that near-death experience, the second one. And then I started writing my own music. And then I started writing my music on the piano. And then I got into a band. And then I got into a screamo band. And then I started writing music for like rappers and like all these different things and like really putting all of my energy into it. And then I started channeling more. And then I started having like these weird experience, like everything. So that was like high school. Okay. Get into college. Everything's fine, channeling a little bit, meet a guy, get married to him. At 20, he thought what I did was weird. And then as soon as I got married to him, he became like narcissistic, abusive, hardcore. And that's when I started really getting sick, was when I had my son. Didn't realize with my connective tissue disorder that I have, you're not supposed to have a kid because it'll kill you. Didn't know that. I didn't know I had it yet, even though I had all the signs and symptoms and issues. And so essentially I ended up having my kid. And because of the hormones that you have in your body, it ended up giving me a slew of problems. And then essentially 18 surgeries later, and then being in a wheelchair and then losing my ability to walk. I couldn't pee. I actually got out of a speeding ticket because I had to go home to pee, like put the catheter in. And so I was like, I really have to pee. And he was like, go home. And I was like, this is it. And I had my little wheelchair in the back. But essentially what happened was my brain started coming out of my head into my neck, because I have a thing called Chiari malformation. But when you have a baby, everything swells. And so it shoved it down. So it put all this pressure on my brain stem, and it essentially caused it to where I couldn't walk anymore and I wasn't able to breathe, and I was on the CPAP machine and all this stuff. And so I went in and I had my brain surgery. At this point, I figured out that I had what was called Ehlers-Danlos syndrome, which is a connective tissue disorder, and we'll talk about how that plays in with like a weird thing. And when I went in there, I told the surgeon, you can kind of like, I mean, you can see it. It's this thing, it runs all the way down. But essentially the surgeon went in and afterwards they cut a, I don't know, golf ball size out of your skull. They put a patch there to push your brain up so that the fluid can move now. And gradually I learned how to walk. But I said, you need to leave the stitches in twice as long because everything is very stretchy and everything is very fragile. And so nothing heals properly. And so he said, oh, okay. He said, no, it's okay. So the week after surgery, he removed them and he just put the steri strips on. So this was over in, where was I at? Alabama when I had the surgery because I was a military wife. And my parents said, well, you're recovering from brain surgery. We want you here at our house in Texas, which is about 8 hours away, so we can watch you because your husband's going to have to go to work all the time. So I went home to my parents' house and I'm in their guest room. I started getting these really bad headaches, really bad. But you don't know anybody that has brain surgery, and I called my doctor and they're like, oh yeah, it's, you're going to have headaches. Here's some, and I was like, I'm projectile vomiting. And they're like, yeah, we're going to give you some more Zofran. You're going to be okay. That's just a part of it. So it's a month later. I got it on November the 2nd. This is the day after what would be the holiday for Thanksgiving. Or the Monday after. So Thanksgiving is the 4th Thursday of November. So whatever that following Monday was. And at this point, I couldn't see. Like, I couldn't leave my dark room. And we would call my doctor and he's like, you're fine. This is just a part of it. So it was so bad that I had been losing all this weight. And so I'm laying in the guest bedroom. My mom she was a college professor at this point. And so she's leaving to go back to go teach that Monday after the holiday. And I wake up and I didn't have a headache. And I was like, my God, this is magic. What happened? And I remember being like, why is my bed wet? And I was like, I must have had a hot flash because I had had a total hysterectomy about 5 years earlier from the shit that I had from endometriosis and all that stuff. And so I was like, maybe I had a hot flash. And then I remember when I sat up, it felt like my head like fell on the ground, like this feeling. It didn't. And I heard this, and I was like, what the fuck? And I turn around and it's all like brownish clear. And I go touch and my entire incision had opened up and that was all of my brain fluid. And with every heart pulse, it would squirt out of the back of my head. And I was like, what do I do? What do I do? Oh, it was crazy. I was sitting there, I was like, and the reason my head felt like it was dropping is because it was sitting on top of my skull, which is pointy, which you die because of that, right? It's supposed to be floating around. And I remember being so shaky. And so I ended up, what did I do? I called my mom, not the ambulance. I was like, what do I do? She's like, call the ambulance. So I called 911. She did too. The ambulance picked up and they go, honey, how far away is your mom? I said, she's like 10 minutes away. They go, we're going to take 45 minutes. You need to get there ASAP. So they were actually on the phone with me. I three-wayed. My mom came home within 10 minutes. My dad picked me up because I was so weak. He put me in the car and they drove me down with a police escort down to Memorial Hermann, which was like 30 minutes away in downtown Houston. And I was so scared about them telling me that everything was just fine. That when they brought me in there, I'm looking at the nurses and I was like, please don't send me home. I don't think this is okay. And they were like, no, you're fine, you're fine. Oh, terrible. So they wheeled me in, they pulled me into the very back. And at this point, I can't feel my hands. I can't feel my feet. And I'm like, they were commenting on how my lips are blue, like all this stuff. They're like, this is not good. And so they go and they wheel me back. And I remember laying on my side because they're assessing all of this. And they're like, we can't put medication in her because it's going to drop her blood pressure. We can't do any of this. And so I just sat there for 2 seconds and then like 20 people show up. And there's this guy that shows up and he goes, I'm from Lebanon. I remember that's what he said. The first thing I go, okay. And he says, he looks over at me from the other side and I see his hairy arm and he goes, we're going to have to get this infected fluid out of you. I'm going to have to get this hose and put it in your spine, but we can't give you numbing because it's going to make your heart stop. And I'm like, okay. And so he says, there's going to be a lot of pain. And I can feel him as they grab, I still have the scar, grab my little bones and he pushes it because I'm so skinny. And I feel this. And with that, it causes my body to go into shock. And I can feel it just, everything got numb and everything got quiet. There is no medicine. And I'm staring at the machines and I'm watching my blood pressure plummet. I'm watching my heart rate plummet and I'm watching it going down and down and down and everybody's freaking out. Everybody's panicking. And I'm just sitting there because I can't do anything. I can't even really move. And as it's going down, I just don't care. And as it's going down, everything goes quiet. It's as quiet as nothing, absolute silence. And then at some point, don't know how this happens, but I went from looking at this to looking down at my body, my whole viewpoint, and I could hear my voice, me inside, hear it, but I wasn't my body. And all I thought was, wow, that sucks for her. I really hope my mom knows that I love her. And I remember going through a wall because I thought about my mom, and then I saw the book she was reading. And then I ended up waking up 2 weeks later out of a coma. So I had died. They had crash carted me. And I have the book that my mom was reading. I asked her if that was the correct one, and it was. And yeah, and at that point, after that, I was in that hospital for another 2.5 months, recovering. And when I got out, everything was in Technicolor. The greens were crazy green, the love and the connection. I remember my mom was driving me back to the house to recover and there was a homeless person and I was like, they're just a version of me. Oh my God, I love them. Why are they not doing, like, there was just like this compassion. And I wasn't on meds because my blood pressure was like just tanking 24/7 because of how weak everything was. And then after that I started channeling, and like a month after I started healing from that, my mom said, you know, hey, I know you're doing all this stuff, because I would go back to have my follow-up appointments and I was channeling the nurses. I channeled the doctor. I channeled the, when we were going out of the hospital, I channeled the, God, what is it? The security guard randomly. His mom and his aunt were there that died. Weird shit. Freaked him out. And then from there, my mom was like, well, one of my friends, her husband just died. Can we go and have you channel her? And I was like, sure. So I went over to her house. And that was the first time I had like a hardcore session in somebody's home. And I stood in the exact same place that he died. He had a heart attack a couple of weeks prior, which was really weird. But that was the near-death experience that made me realize that, I mean, 110% that you live on, you are not your body. Everything is vibration, everything is energy, everything is pure love. You do go through walls, everything is instant. There is compressed time. Time doesn't exist. You can see your loved ones. They can hear you. When you think, that is how you connect. And that's how I came up with the whole thing of like, they're using your brain like a computer, because everything that I've come up with and I teach about is not because I've read anything. It's because I've sat there and fucking like hours tried to figure it out, days and months and weeks, and studying and going to places and like having my own experiences, because I don't want anybody else's to convolute like my experience and what I'm seeing. I don't want to rely on somebody else's. And then from there, finally, my fourth one, is just a really quick one, was that essentially I didn't know, because my cathing and stuff like that, I was still cathing. And because I have had, essentially, to make it a little bit lighter, you never know embarrassment until you're at work and you sneeze and your vagina falls out. And so then you have to tell your boss, I'm sorry, my vagina fell out because I sneezed. I need to go have it surgically pulled up. It's also when your butthole falls out. That's a great thing as well, because that's what happens with this. You have prolapse. So I didn't have a uterus, so that didn't prolapse. So my cooter and my tutor decided they wanted to pop out. And then they had to go in and redo them. But because of that, I've had that happen 3 different times. I can't feel anything. So if I would get a UTI or something, I can't feel it. And because I only have one kidney, essentially like you're fucked. So there was this point I had apparently a UTI. It had gotten really, really bad. It had got up into my kidney, and I just felt really bad for like a week. I didn't know why, and I said I need to go to the bathroom. I excused myself to go to the bathroom, and I was going to go to the downstairs bathroom because it was quieter. And when I was going down in the elevator, I passed out. And I'd become septic, and my kidney had been shutting down for the last week. And so they ended up life supporting me, bringing me back inside of the ambulance, taking me to the hospital. Oh, yeah, yeah, a whole 9 yards. And then I remember waking up. This was like 2 days. It wasn't that long. It was like 2 days later. And I was so fucking mad. And I remember my mom was like, "Good morning. Good. How are you? Do you want me to get you coffee?" And it was because I was in that room that I had had that previous near death experience in my brain in my parents' guest room, except everything was white. The comforter was white. Like the ceiling just never ended. And there were these beautiful flowing white, like linen curtains with like gold. And I remember looking over, and my dog that I had just put down 4 months before was running up to me. Oh, my REM pod went off. Interesting. There you go. Thank you. I know y'all are here. Yeah, they're here. That's probably my dog. And then coming up and then hops on the bed, and I can feel his nose and I can smell it. And then my grandmother was there, and she's like, "You're going to have to go back." And I'm like, "I don't want to. Let's go together." And then that's when I woke up and I was mad. I was like, "I want to go with them. I don't want to fucking be here." And then essentially after that, I channeled, and it just got more intense. And yeah, those are the four. That's it.
Oh
And
my.
apparently they're here.
Oh my God. Oh, your body. Bloody hell. If you're
Yeah.
going to have anything wrong with you, like I'm thinking about that right
Yeah.
now going, Jesus, how you're like the cat with 9 lives. Just keep coming back.
Yeah, yeah, they make fun of me for that. So my family's always like, "You're like a cockroach. Like something is going to like randomly kill you." And I'm like, "I know at some point," but no, everything is very bendy. Like I don't do, any type of like exercises or stretching, but I have a thing called Ehlers-Danlos, like everything bends backwards. I have a thing called Ehlers-Danlos syndrome, so it's a connective tissue disorder, and I've been diagnosed 4 different times because I was kind of like the case study for it. And then I also have a thing that goes along with it called Marfan syndrome, which makes me, 5'11" and like 120 pounds and look like a noodle and have, heart issues and I mean, you name it. Um, and yeah,
Bloody
but
hell.
this is a weird thing. You ready for this? Because of the brain thing, the Chiari malformation, and because of the EDS thing, I have to tell you, I think that may be a partial superpower is why you can channel and feel better. Because when you have that, you are hypersensitive to light and sound. Like right now, these lights are driving me nuts. They're burning my eyes, and I hate it. And I have them down on like 8. They're not high up at all. I have my camera turned up a lot. And then sound, I can feel it in here, anything. I cannot say it. It gives me like the worst migraine in the world. So like my husband always makes fun of me that I'm a vampire. But I think with that, I can feel when like a spirit shows up, or I can feel that slight difference. Or even like with zodiac signs, you can feel the difference in the frequencies of these music notes that create this viewpoint of how you view and see the world. And all those feelings get translated into words or English. And then you just have to learn how to do that. That's it.
Yeah. Oh, just
So it's
that.
a good thing. Yeah,
No,
yeah,
but
yeah.
you know
I
what?
don't have
I
any
love.
other way to say it.
But I like that, the fact that through everything you've been through, you find the silver lining or you use what you got kind of thing to keep moving
Yeah,
forward.
yeah,
And I love how you talk about
yeah.
frequency and, spirit's
Mhm,
language and understanding what they're saying to you
mhm,
and how to sort of go
mhm,
deeper to connect
mhm,
and be able to understand what the hell they're saying to you. So for all the aspiring mediums
mhm,
out there, all the mediums that are working in this field already, what's your advice to like understanding that better? Understanding spirit's
mm.
language, getting underneath the hood of the car. Like what helped you or what do you do to get to that point? where you feel?
I'm gonna piss a lot of people off, but I don't care.
Do
So
it.
number one, okay, good. Stop limiting yourself with stupid fucking tarot cards and stupid fucking sticks and all that crap. People are just like, I can't channel without them. No, you're not in fucking channel. Do you know what you're doing? You have this vast connection. You are a spirit in a body. You can connect. You can understand the language. It just takes time. Everybody wants it fucking right now, and you can't. You have to do like test after test after test. You're learning a new language. But when you go through and you go, oh, I'm only going to do tarot, you are literally limiting yourself to 52 pieces of paper when
Mm-hmm.
you can understand absolute everything. But everybody's so afraid about being wrong. The way you get better is by being fucking wrong. You go in there and you figure it out. Do you think I knew how to feel like what Perth feels like in Australia when I haven't been there because I haven't been wrong before? No. It's because at some point I said the sunny coast because I know about that. And they go, no, I'm from Perth. And then from now on, whenever I hear, no, somebody's from Perth, I hear that person saying, no, I'm from Perth. And so that's how I know.
Mm-hmm.
You
Yeah.
know, so that would be the first thing. The other thing is like you have to actually practice. Everybody goes, well, I've been doing it for a year and I don't know everything. Well, no fucking shit, you don't know everything. You know what? I don't even know everything. I'm still learning. Do you know how hard it is to like understand somebody's cultural practices from Indonesia when you've only met two people from Indonesia and you're trying to channel a spirit from there? Do you know how much YouTube I watch on different countries so they have something to pull out of my brain to talk about it? That's what I do.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's just time and learning, and don't limit yourself to these little physical things because remember, like you are the powerhouse. Everything is in you, and you're only limiting yourself by saying, I can't. Or remember, like your brain is a computer. So whatever you have downloaded in your brain, that is what they can use. Now, you also have to go through and you have to, I mean, I see why monks are monks. There are some times when I'm like, you know what? I mean, I already shaved my head, but there's sometimes when I'm like, you know what? I don't need to focus on anything else but this. Like, I have actually thought about only wearing linen for the rest of my life of like a single color because I also have realized that all these distractions take away from me learning about it. If I go through and I eat a lot of sugar before I have a session, it fucks with my body. Therefore, I'm not going to be able to pay attention to these other signs and symbols that I'm getting because my body is worried about burning up this hardcore calorie into fuel, or if I go through and I watch a lot about drama, like I love it when people come on and they're like, you're a liberal or you're a Republican. I'm like, haha, it's all a joke. Anyways, because I channel everybody.
Yeah.
But that's just a distraction from the deeper thing. But anyways, um, with that, if you watch that, you're putting yourself in that state of like drama, which is a lower vibrational state. So if you go and you try to channel a spirit that is heavenly, it is harder for you to connect. And so therefore you're going to be like, well, I can't do it. No, it's because you fucked yourself because you went through and you watched this other stuff right beforehand and you're on a different vibration or a frequency than them.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so you don't watch TV, you don't watch social media, you don't get involved with drama, you don't, I mean, none of that. I love it because I have a lot of friends on social media and they're like, did you hear about this? And I'm like, well, it's a Sunday, you can tell me a little bit about it. And then usually I like in my brain, I figure it out. I'm like, well, she shouldn't do this, they shouldn't do this, they're acting this lower interest, whatever. But I know they don't want to hear it because they're addicted to that, but whatever. That's essentially how I feel about it.
Yeah.
But that's what I would say.
Yeah. But it's smart though. It makes sense. Like,
Mhm.
when you're in certain situations or you're seeing certain things, it evokes emotion within you and then you're distracted. It's kind of like when you're living your real life and shit happens
Yeah.
and you just had an argument
Yes.
with your partner and then all of a sudden you have to channel. It's
And you know
so
what? Sometimes
hard.
it is, and it can be, but I also know that everything happens for a reason. Sorry, I didn't mean to, my apparently, hello, foot. No, but
I love that.
everything happens for a reason. And so like it may be that I got into an argument with my partner about, I don't know, him paying his dad's rent because he's lazy, right? Because his dad's lazy. And, then I go in and I have a session with somebody and they're talking about how their dad is in a deficit and how they wish they could be there to pay their rent, right? Like there's
Mm,
a reason for it. Or it could
yeah.
also be that the reason I had that argument with my partner was to put me in that frequency, because before I was having a great fucking day and
Yeah.
I'm not in that same vibration to channel that spirit that may have, shot themselves in the head.
Mm. Ah, yeah.
Because they're on
See?
different levels.
Yes,
Hmm.
that makes total sense. Because, yeah, sometimes I'm sitting there
Hmm.
and I'm like, Jesus, how am I going to get through this? How am I going to do this? But then as soon as the person comes on the call, I'm in the gears and it's going. And
Yes.
then you feel better
Yes.
after the reading. And I'm like, oh, I don't know why we were
Oh
arguing
yeah.
about that for.
Correct. Yeah, you feel high as a kite in a good way. I always
Yeah.
tell people, I go, you know what? I said you never have to. Oh, we got to talk about that as well. I go, you never have to do drugs when you channel because it makes you feel the best high in the entire world. And then do you get this? I actually get grumpy if I don't channel for 4 or 5 days. Is that a thing
Yeah,
for you?
I feel different. Like
Yeah.
sometimes I'm like, oh, I want a break from it. I need a break or whatever. But then I get itchy and I'm like, oh,
Yes.
like, does someone want me to channel for them? Or like I start like
Yes.
picking up on things around my friends and stuff because I'm
Uh
addicted.
huh. Uh huh. No,
Addicted.
you do.
I
You
want to stop working, but I
yes.
can't.
No, no, but is it really working? You're just connecting with the highest version of you. Like, that's why people are just like, well, what do you do? I'm like, well, during the week, I channel, I do all my own content. And then on the weekends, I go out to haunted locations and super old cemeteries in the wood to talk to spirits from the 1800s. Like,
Yeah.
and then confirm this and like have my own little mini mystery. One of my favorite things to do is to go out into the woods. I find these very, very old cemeteries and I like literally like deep in the woods. And then I sit there and I bring usually a notepad and I'll write down what I'm getting. I'll have my equipment set up to like show that I mean, you can feel them, but it's cool when you're just like, go set that off and then they do it, right?
Yeah.
And then from there I can go home and sometimes I'll find stuff, sometimes I won't, but we have a thing called newspapers.com over here and you can look up any date and I'll put in their date, their location, where they at, and then I'll test myself like, did I get it correct?
Oh,
And
I
that's kind of
love
how I do
that.
it.
That's so cool.
Yeah.
I want to talk about your little devices. And I even saw a live that you
Oh.
did like a couple days ago. And you had like your phone out, and I think it was like saying words to you. How do you use all your
Uh-huh.
electronic devices? What is going on here?
Okay, so a lot of people go like this. They go, "Oh my God, you're a medium, so why do you use devices?" It's not for fucking me, it's for you. Okay? I know they're there. I know they're around. Okay, so essentially, I am trying to prove to everybody that you still exist when you pass, right? That it's not the end. That's my whole thing because I remember, when most of my family is dead, but when they died, especially when I was little, I was like, where did they go? They just ceased to exist. And I'm like, I could sit there and tell you that they're around, but then it's also really cool when I tell you that they're around and then I say, can you go set that off? And they set that off when I ask them to do that because they're there. So now it's a way of like showing this. So I have these a long time ago I had this, well, not a long time, like 2 years ago, I had this idea that you have all these ghost hunters, hate that word, but ghost hunters that go out into the field and they use these devices. And, I was like, well, if I'm channeling, spirits are coming into my room. So then why wouldn't they be able to use these devices as well? I figured out that you have to work with them. You have to train them, just like here, because it takes a lot of energy. They're literally coming into our frequency and they are using their energy and they are touching it or just wrapping around it. So, like this, I have like 6 of them, but this is called a REM pod. So, it's EMF essentially. So, we all have an electromagnetic field. Some people like to call the woo woo word, which is an aura. And so all of us, we radiate at a certain frequency and we do this all throughout the days. That's why people are like, mine's purple. Well, that's fucking great. That's just a higher vibrational state, or it's a different frequency. Frequencies coincide with colors, which coincide with feelings. That's another thing. And so essentially, usually a spirit that your guides can set them off pretty easily, but spirits that are more like middle, which means like in our frequency, they can set this off easier. So like if I go up, I can touch this, right? And so there's a stick pointing up. There's like an antenna pointing up right here, right here. And so, see, now I just pissed it off. But essentially, there's these 4 different lights. Green is the lightest, and then it goes all the way up to purple. So with me see, I'm like this far away, so it's turning green and yellow, right? If I get really close, it'll go all the way up to purple. So that means it's like right on top of it. So if a spirit is coming through and they're hopping in my brain, which is what they do, they're connecting with your energy, your vibration, and your frequency, and they're literally getting in your head, they can come over here and they can use or like pull your vibration. I don't know. I don't have a better way of explaining it. And they can touch this and set it off. So that's one of the things. Then I also have these little cat ball things, which are really cool. They're literally for cats, but they are touch. Okay, so they're touch sensor. So you turn them off when you're not using them, turn them on when you do. And then from there, you go to a place where there's no vibration. Like when I go out into my cemeteries and stuff like that, that are an hour away from civilization, there's no electricity anywhere because they're so far away. And you put those on the ground and then you go, okay, I want you to show up. And they may set this off. And because they're moving by, there is a vibration that moves through. So then they set this off. Oh, I turn it off. But then they set this off as well, right? It goes off and it goes away. So it's just another way to show that they're moving around, that they're walking around. I also have, or they're floating around. I also have this. It has a stand with it. This is a really cool thing. You can't see it very well, but essentially it's a grid. And so they use this a lot inside of like haunted locations. And right here, it has to set up first, but there's this little screen there. And when you can set this up and it finally like locks into like this flat wall, you can see legs moving, or you can see an arm moving, or you can see a head bop in, or if it's just an orb, it'll take up 2 or 3 and you'll see it move and you'll be like, can you please come in and set this off? And they'll do it. It's temperature gauge, it's everything like that. And then the last thing is 99% of spirit boxes are horse shit. They're not real. There's just like, as soon as you get a spirit box and it says, I need you to put more money into it for a spooky voice, is that serious in learning how to communicate with this other layer of reality that exists? Probably not. So I have a really good friend. His name is Chris. He works with a guy named Steve Huff, which is also really, really big into the paranormal, learning how to do electronic voice phenomenon. He became obsessed because when his dad died, he was a non-believer completely. And he said, when my dad died, I didn't say goodbye to him, and I wanted to figure out how to communicate with him because I had this amazing experience and I wanted to figure out how to do it again. So he has this degree in like computer engineering. And so now he spent like most of his life trying to figure out devices on finding the frequency to have logical communications with spirit. So him and Chris, who are my friends, went through and they created this app called Transcend Theory. And Transcend Theory, boom, is the only app that has not been debunked. Like, it has been scientifically proven, all that stuff. And so from here, you can turn it on. And I like to keep it on during sessions too. But I don't usually have like the voice on at the same time because obviously you can't channel when you have the voice going on. But like today, I was sitting here and I was getting into my last session, the person from Perth, and there was no word that showed up on here, but on the voice, it was a man and it said, fell off the mountain, like that. Oh, interesting. Jail. So somebody's in jail. So I'm channeling. I'll tell you about that in a little bit. But essentially, when I went into my last session, I looked at her. I had written it down on my notepad. I go, I know we're wanting to channel this gentleman. Let's call him Richard, because she said, I want to channel Richard. I said, this is your dad, right? She goes, yeah. I said, did he happen to like fall off a mountain or fall off something really tall? And he was on a snowmobile and he ended up having a heart attack. And when he had a heart attack, it went over the embankment. He fell off the mountain and the snowmobile fell on top of him.
No way.
So because he died, yeah, 1,000%, and it's all recorded. And so because of that, because how quickly he passed, and tragically, he's going to come through on my devices more strongly than, and in my brain, than somebody that, let's say, maybe grandma died and you were with her and she had cancer for 10 years and like everything worked out and everybody said, I love you, it's good to go, because that person is coming through and they're saying, I want to smooth out the energy because everybody's worried. Everybody's wondering if I'm okay. So it's that energy of, which doesn't allow them to feel smooth, which is that neutralizing. So they're going to come through more punchier, which means that they're going to put more energy into things like this in my brain to connect.
Yeah,
And
wow.
that's how I know if somebody is passing tragically, hardcore quickly, or if they're a lower vibrational state instead of like a higher, like let's say they have a lot, like let's say they shot themselves in the head, right? They're going to come through and they're going to be able to set up my device a lot easier because they're more middle. And then at the same time, now I'm seeing the patterns. So I'm like, okay, I'm getting this feeling of really, really sad, really, really heavy. And it's not just because they died. And then I'm like, somebody probably ended up taking their own life. My thing starts going off. I'm like, yep, okay. I'm like, so Jake took his own life. And then I go through and I ask him, I go, you know what happened? And then he shows me this image in my brain of how he puts it in his mouth. And then from there on my spirit box at the same time, it says bathtub. So then now I'm like, okay, so he shot himself in the mouth in the bathtub, right? And they're like, yeah. And I'm like, oh, okay, cool. So that's how it works.
Wow.
So that's kind of how you use it all together as a multifaceted way of connecting. So now it's even more real instead of like a woman or man, whoever it is that just said the boss. Interesting. A person just being like, I feel like there's a man here and he's sad and he misses you and you know he's with family. He had hair, and you're just like, what the fuck? Like, do you know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
So yeah,
yeah.
that's why I do it. Anyways, that's
Yeah,
my long
wow.
explanation.
No, I love that.
You're probably wondering what just happened to the podcast. Me too. It's Jade. I'm Ben and Jess. And you know what's also Ben and Jess? Our lime glow candle.
And like I said, it's fascinating for people when they're sitting there having readings and like shit's going
Hmm.
off and like it's just cool. Like I don't even see it as like some people, oh, it's all like, just trying to put on a show and all this shit.
No, no, no,
No,
no,
it's
no,
not. It's
no.
validation.
Hmm. Hmm. Well,
It's
and that and
more
that's what it is.
validation.
Yeah, I know for like for me, like tonight, okay, so I have a thing on Patreon, right? And so every single month I have my top tier people and I go through and I decided that I do this for my family that's dead. One of my things is I became obsessed with like trying to figure out how to make my sister come through and how to make my dad come through and how to because they can come through in my brain and I feel them, but I wanted to see if they could set this off because they're in a higher vibrational state. So it's all in the focus and when they come through they come in waves. So they'll come in, they'll get really strong, and then it goes away. Look
Mm.
really strong, and then it goes away, and they get really strong. And so every spirit talks in a certain wave or a certain cadence. That's another thing that I figured out. And so
Mm.
like tonight, I'm going to go through and I chose 4 people out of my group of however many. And I told them to tell me how they passed. I told them to send me a picture, send me a voice message that they have, send me a video of them that you have with their voice, because I want to show them that with all these things, remember your voice is your ringtone. That's your bell. Your name is your bell. That's what you were
Mm.
in this life. So when you bring this through, you're literally connecting with them on their vibration. And then I put their pictures up and I talk to them about what happened, how it happened. Clearly I can get stuff in my brain, but then from there I set up all of my equipment all throughout my bathroom because that's the most quiet place in my home where nobody's going to annoy me and I can kind of like lock myself away. And then I have conversations with these people. They will come in and I'll say, please set this off. And they'll go over there and you can see a shift and they'll say going and then it sets off. And so it's a way of showing people that not only can you get it in your brain, but they actually can interact with this world. But you're the key to having them interact. We're the battery. Like
Mm.
we're the battery. They can't just normally do it. They have to have our thoughts, our feelings, our emotions, our connection to be that bridge in order to
Mm.
do it.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And do you
there you go.
find that like your mediumship's stronger when you ask them? When you say, hey, what is that? Or do you actually have it like in your brain, you're having conversations like with the
Yeah,
spirit? Like you're going, what is that?
yeah,
Or can you show me that?
yes,
Or like you're
yeah,
asking the
uh-huh.
questions, you're like getting them to
Hmm.
respond to you rather than just waiting for them to plant things in your mind and then
No,
throwing it out there.
no, you don't do that because they don't have enough energy to do that all the time. And so that's why I think that's why I teach my introduction to channeling class and my channeling courses, because you have to keep the energy flowing. Otherwise they have nothing to grab onto. So you're sitting there and you're just like, if I sat there for a second, you're sitting there and you're zoning out, which means you already know this. You're just ignoring everything. And then from there in my brain, I'm literally like saying, who's there? Who's there? Who's there? But like over and over and over again. I ask it a billion times. And then from there, I'll be like, okay, there's a guy here. Okay, guy who? John. Okay, cool. John, what happened to you? Okay, I saw a bullet. Okay, interesting, cool. All right, wow, school bus. All right, so boy. What about the boy? Okay, bananas. Did somebody just make banana bread? Like that. Oh, okay. And and so I'm asking all these questions, but they don't answer them in a line. I'm asking probably 15 questions at one time, and I'm seeing what they pick up on. So it'll say banana bread, and then all of a sudden I'll go back and I'll be like, was there like a gentleman, like an uncle that like shot him in the back or something? And they're like, yeah. The thing I find too with channeling is that how I get it to be better is that if I bring up the frequency, so if you bring up the happiness or if you bring up the love, then they can get more intense with their description, which usually will then make it sad, which then takes away from their energy. So then they make it neutral or happy again, and so that way they can feed on it again and then go back down. So you have this undulating type effect that continues the conversation. It's when people just sit there and they go, okay, I'm not getting anything. Well, no, because you're not putting anything into it.
It's true.
Yeah.
And I honestly, the way I describe readings is it's a journey. Like you're happy, you're sad, you're crying, you're laughing. Like it's just like this up, down, up, down, up, down. And that's a great way to describe it. And even when you first start, I remember it being really clunky. I was like, oh, I've got a little bit of information, and then it stops, and then it's there, and then it's not. And then as you keep doing it and you, as you say, understand the language and you're working, it starts to flow. And then people say to me, oh my God, is it up already? Like, I feel like we've just like been going for 10 minutes. I'm like, I know, isn't it crazy? Time has just been flying. We've just been having this conversation that feels like a conversation. It's amazing.
Well, it is. Well, and then with that too, I talk to a lot of people that are in the scientific community and are in, the more that I do this, I think that we're the aliens, but anyways, that's a whole nother thing. But it's seriously, I mean, think about it. Okay, real quick, ponder this with me for a second.
Okay.
We are a multi-dimensional entity that is hijacking this biological body. We are using it for our own good. There's no animal in the world that goes through and does body modification or modifies their planet like we do, or has this range, right? Then we come in and we can telepathically communicate with each other, but nobody wants to, or like half the people don't want to accept that. And it's just on staying on that same radio wave or like frequency, right? And then from there, when we cross back over, we go to whatever the hell it is. I don't know. I don't think we're supposed to know it again fully, but it's literally, it's here. It's just not for our eyes and ears to see, because this is our musical instrument that was made for this frequency, not that one. But that also means that we are both alive and dead at the exact same time. I don't know. I think we're the aliens. But anyways, I digress.
I think so. It's a thought. Definitely. I have one more question to ask you, which is a bit juicy. Let's talk about how people can figure out who is legit and who is fake in this industry, because I get that question all the time. Jess, what do you think about this person? Do you think they're legit? Like, thank you. But how can you tell? How can you tell? Like for people out there.
You tell me. Tell me your thoughts on that.
I feel like people who are out there saying, if you give me $300, I will set your mum's soul free. All this weird shit. People who are messaging you going, I feel something, and would you like me to channel this further? Like, there's some of my like go-tos where I'm like, that ain't well.
Yeah, 1,000%. Number one is if cord cutting, candle burning, the sticks where they're like, give me a yes or no question. I love this. I love going on lives. I am blocked by so many people. It's great. And it's not because anybody's being mean. It's because I'm calling them out, because they're going through and they're going like this. Okay. Does Daniel love me? And you're just like, what are you doing? And have you ever played with those stupid ass sticks before?
I don't have any sticks. Oh my God.
Okay, I want you because I saw that so often. I was like, why is everybody doing this? What is this? So I go through and I run my own experiments, right? So I bought them. If you fart, it will move. Okay? If you're holding it, if you barely go like you can't even see it, but my mic, if you go, the thing will move, right? So they're sitting like this and they go like that and they cross. So they're doing this one after another after another. And these people are coming on and they're like, am I going to get pregnant? I've been on IVF for 10 years. And they're like, no, spirit says no, sorry. But then I also know that that is not my place because then I'll get myself into a lower registry or a lower feeling. It's not maybe to bring it out, but I also can't. Maybe the thing for me with all of that is on some level that has to be doing some good for somebody because maybe that's even opening them up to the idea that this is even possibly a thing. Do you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And then from then they will grow out of it and they will want to look for more information as to why. And then from there, we will be there to teach and help. Okay. So anyways, that's where my thought process, my adult thought process now comes into play. But my Aries underneath is like, we're going to take them all out. No. But then going back into it, how do you know? Number one, all the sticks, all that crap. Do I think tarot can be real? Yeah, to a certain degree it can. But again, you're limiting yourself to just this 52 card pickup. Why are you doing that? You know, you can get everything. Number two is yes, if they reach out to you for a reading, that means they're not really getting a whole lot of clients. So they have time to reach out to somebody to say, I'm feeling. Also, you can't feel somebody's energy via that, like that's stupid. That would be the thing. The other thing too is like I always say, just like, you know, do they have actual clips of them having sessions? Do they have like actual reviews? Do they have a wait list? If somebody says that they have been doing this for 10 years and that they are the best in the world, but then they can see you 2 days from now, it's so rare for it to be that good, right? You know this, that somebody should be booked out, you know, at least like a month or two, right? At least, especially if they're in like the higher area, right? Teresa Capure, or Matt Frazier was booked out 5 years. Tyler Henry was booked out like 8 years. You know, John Edwards was booked out like I think 9 when he shut it down. And is that a little excessive? Yes. But as you get bigger, if you give an actual good reading and it is real, that person, especially if you have it recorded, is going to go out and show 4 or 5 people.
Yeah.
And 3 of those people are going to schedule. So now from that one appointment, you have 3 people. So therefore, you're automatically going to be booking out.
I agree.
Right? So that would
It's
be
word
one
of
them.
mouth. Yeah.
It is. It's very much word of mouth. And then the other thing is if they, you know, you watch some of their stuff and all it is fluff. Do you know what the other thing I fucking hate? I'm an evidential medium. What else are you supposed to be? That's like saying I'm a doctor. I'm a chef that cooks food. What the fuck are you supposed to be?
It's true. It's true.
It is.
Yes.
You know what I'm saying?
I know.
I'm so proud because I'm an evidential medium. Oh, are you not supposed to be? Is that a trophy that you're supposed to actually get facts? Is that what that is? No, that goes into ego. So no, you are literally, now that I do this for so long, I don't even know if I like the term medium because you're not even in the middle. Everybody is a medium. You're just translating the language. That's it.
Yeah.
I don't know.
I know. A lot of people are funny about what they call themselves. Like they do make up these other words and other ways and all this kind of shit. We're all just doing the same thing. We're at least trying to.
Yes, no. We absolutely are. So with you too, in this industry and I do like the Australian people. They are quite wonderful and they are very spiritual now. I find that they're very, very into this. I also like, I have a lot of people from Mexico. Like that's a lot of my clientele are in Mexico because they're very, very spiritual, which is really, really cool. Americans, they're wonderful too. But again, half of us are still caught on the like, you're going to go to hell because, you know, Jesus told you this is not. Do you know that Jesus was trying to make you find the light within you? That's, you know, read the Gospel of Thomas. But anyways, that was a whole nother thing. But how do you feel about all that?
I agree. I 100% agree. And the thing is, go with your instincts. I always say this too. Like if you look at someone and you see them reading for people, they got a little clip or whatever, and you're like, I could be that girl's friend. I like her. I like her vibe, or I like his vibe. that is who you book
Yeah.
with. You have to like the person in vibe without even knowing who they are. Because if you get on the call and you're like a wet blanket and I'm all this high vibe kind of chick, you're going to be like, fuck, this is not my kind of gal. I am not feeling this.
No, correct. So what with that with you, I actually have, well, no, I'll take this back. How have you ever had, I mean, obviously we all had at some point, um, the people that come in, I mean, it's not now, but a long time ago, that would be like, I need you to prove this to me, like that. How do you deal
Oh,
with
yeah.
that?
I've had people who are like, tell me the nickname that this
Oh,
person said to me when I was 5 and all this shit. And prove to me that this is this person by telling me this, this, and that, right? I just go, let's just see what happens. Let's just see what they have to say because it's not up to me to be dictating to spirit what they do and don't have to tell me. I'm going to throw it to them and be like, show me something. Sometimes people are like, what is the sign that so and so sends me? Yada, yada. Sometimes we can get it. Other times they're showing me a different sign because they've outgrown that one and they want to show you something different now because we're evolving. So, and then 2 days
correct.
later, they get that sign. It's like, stop
Uh-huh.
trying to
Yep.
strangle the reading. Stop trying to make it what you want it to be. Allow it to be as magical as this spirit wants it to make it for you. Just my thing.
Yes. Uh-huh,
Mm-hmm.
1,000%. And I know, like, personally for me and what I do, I don't believe in, not believe, but I'm outgrown, or I think that we all should kind of like outgrow the signs of it's a butterfly, it's a bee, it's a fucking rainbow. Do you want to know why? Because they're talking to you 24/7 and you can create your own and you can ask them to show you anything that you want. And all you
Yeah.
have to do is get off your freaking phone, connect
Mm-hmm.
for 2 seconds, and then go out there and then they will put it in your reality and you will see it. But like there would be times when they're just like, what is the sign that my dad sends me? And I tell them, I said, I need you to create your own. And yes, we'll be able to get it sometimes, but there are some times where they'll show me a butterfly and I'm like, it's not a butterfly. That's so stupid. No, that's not a thing. And then I'm like, I don't know. They kept showing me a butterfly, but they're like, yes, it is. And it's because for me, I'm like, butterfly's not a sign. Butterflies are everywhere. Like that's where my brain takes it now, right?
Yeah.
But with them, the more I realize that, how spirits talk is that I don't know. I don't think we have free will at all anymore. I think everything happens. There was this one time, and this is the whole thing that made me kind of like contemplate that over again. It was last year, it was like December last, I don't know, like a week before Christmas or something. And I was with my husband and his family in California going to visit them. And I was doing my sessions on the road and I was sitting there and I have all this documented on a video, like it's there. It's actually on part of my profiles. And I was having a session with this woman and all of a sudden I started having deja vu. And I remember seeing the chair I was sitting in, the light, the person, it all started coming back. And as I was sitting there, it was as though time froze completely for me. And there was this man's voice in my brain. I could feel the resonance in my chest. This is exactly what he sounded like. He goes, you're about to tell her husband's nickname, remember? And I was like, I am. And then it came back like to like regular reality. And I go, this is so weird. I think I'm about to tell you your husband's nickname. Don't tell me what it is. I have no idea. And so then I started zoning out for a second again. I got over the freak out, which took, 2 seconds. And somebody popped in my brain, which was her mother. She goes, oh, let him know that he's gained an extra 20, 25 pounds and it's okay that he's fluffy. And I go, it's weird. I said, has your husband gained like 20 or 25 pounds in the last couple months? I said, yeah. I said, your mom keeps telling him that he's fluffy. She goes, what did you say? I said, he's fluffy. She goes, that's what his nickname is. His nickname is Fluffy. It's Daddy Fluffy. That's what my kids call him. Like, that's what it is. And I was like, and I go back and I watch that clip and where the time stopped for me, it didn't. It was seamless all the way. I have it on here. I can send it to you later. Like it's right there. And I was like, it wasn't a guide. I don't know what that was. So then now I'm like, is it all just planned?
Mm.
I
Yeah.
don't know. There you go. I
It's
think this is also
amazing.
why yes, this is also probably why in the Bible they told people like halfway not to do it, because I think that there's only a few select people that can wrap their brain around it without going crazy. That may be a thing, because if some
Hmm.
like normal person had that type of experience, they'd be like,
Yeah.
I'm schizophrenic or something. I don't know. Have you had anything weird like that happen? Yeah.
All the time. All the time,
Oh, tell
shit
me.
randomly happens to me where I'm like, how the fuck did that come to be? Or how did this land for me? I blow my mind. They blow my mind every single day when I'm
Every
reading for
day.
people.
Mm-hmm.
And the
Yeah.
thing is, it's not even like to somebody else that they'd be like, oh yeah, they'd be like, that's cool. And I'm like, no, you don't get it. Like in that moment, I had
No.
goosebumps head to toe and I ripped this shit out of my ass. And that
Yes.
person, like even the other day, I was channeling for somebody and they were showing me that their brother had passed, and he passed when he was like 13, and he passed of a motorbike accident. I saw some like mechanical energy, so I was like, it's got to be something to do with a
Yeah.
vehicle or something. And then his dad was with him in spirit, and the dad threw his helmet off his head and threw it on the ground. And I was like,
Mm-hmm.
he's throwing his helmet and it's like landing on the ground. And he goes, yeah, that's what happened. When he was midair, his helmet flew off and he hit his head and he broke his neck. And that's how he passed.
Uh-huh.
And I was like, but that little
Mm-hmm.
detail, like of the helmet flying off the head, I was like,
Mm-hmm.
that's actually really significant. And I was probably thinking, oh, I probably just won't say that. But I was like, no, I'm going to say it the way
Yeah.
he showed me it. But even that blew my
Yeah.
mind. And it's so
Yes.
little. Like people, I told you that. You'd be like, oh, yeah, cool. I'm like, no. But in the moment, I was like, I'm actually having this visual of this helmet being thrown. And it was so cool to be able to say that and
Mm-hmm.
validate that this is your brother because that's exactly what happened.
Uh-huh. That's exactly what it is. And so, and I'm sure you get it as well, because I want to look at your chart here in just a second, because I want to see why you and I vibe so well. But I also like when people come on my videos, I have a lot of people that say this. They go, "Oh my God, like you've been doing this forever. Why are you still so amazed at it?" And I'm like, the reason why you're good at it, the reason why I'm good at it, is because we're fucking amazed at it, because we
Yeah.
live in that level of gratitude and holy shit. It's
Yeah.
people that don't live in that get into the negative state, that can't channel as well, because they don't have that's that excited energy that keeps it coming.
Yeah. I agree. I'm fascinated
So,
like every single day. Like I love it.
yes.
I'm all for it.
Yes.
It's so good.
Yes. Uh-huh. Yeah,
Oh
all
my
the way,
God.
all the way. And and that's Colin. Weird. I wonder why that would be a thing. So this is the whole thing. I have a channeling session tonight for a group session, but I know Colin is, what is a Colin?
A Colin. Well, like a name?
Yeah,
Like the name
maybe.
Colin or
I
like,
don't know. I don't know. I don't know. I don't know another thing besides Colin name.
yeah, neither do
Um,
I.
is
I
there a
don't know.
Colette, C-O-L, or a Colin? Doesn't sound like it's for you.
No, I don't think it's for me. Maybe they're coming
Okay,
in
yeah,
already for you.
oh, well,
They're
that's why
early.
everything was going off already. No, well, I mean, you know that. So do you know whenever you're going through and you're channeling, do you get stuff throughout the day before your sessions?
Sometimes.
Because I do all the time.
Yeah,
Really?
sometimes. Even when I kind of know the
Okay.
person, like I might have channeled for them before, like that morning, I might feel like someone come in. And I don't
Yeah.
remember much from when I channel. Like I remember straight after and things that really wowed me. But if I read for someone a
Yes.
year ago, I don't remember shit. And sometimes I get
No,
on the
no.
call and I'm like, oh, have I read for you before? And they're like, oh, yeah. And I'm like, oh, great. That's amazing. And then as I'm starting to channel, I'm getting the deja vu. Shit's coming back. And I'm
Yes.
like, oh my God, I remember you were sitting in this exact room when I read for you last time, weren't you? And they're like, yes. And I'm
Yes,
like, how am I
yes.
remembering now? I'm on the call with you. But like before I didn't know, but the spirit's familiar. I'm like, oh, I can
They
feel
do.
their dad's here in the morning and I know it's going to be a dad and all that. But I don't remember all the things until I'm sitting with them. And then everything's flooding
Yes.
back. It's bizarre.
Yes. No. That is the exact same thing. There will be times where I'm going through and I'm having a session with somebody and I'm like, oh, I've channeled. This is a thing. And they're like, yeah. Or the other thing, this was, what was it? Not, was it? No, it was the day before, not yesterday, but the day before. I was having a session with this one woman and all of a sudden she wanted to channel somebody named Melissa. So I start bringing this Melissa person through and Melissa goes through and she shows me this bloody handprint like that. And I was like, interesting. Somebody just showed me a bloody handprint, and I can feel the lowness and I can feel the heaviness, and that goes along with suicide. So bloody handprint, that's like the pattern for that. And I was like, weird. I was like, Melissa committed suicide? And she was like, yeah. I said, this is so odd. I said, she keeps talking about your mother and having a session. And she goes, oh, well, you read my mother 2.5 years ago. And Melissa, you talked about her having a bloody handprint.
No.
Yeah. Yes.
Wow.
And she was like, I wanted to see if she would come through. And I was like, interesting. But then she went through and she talked about how her boyfriend just essentially died in like a motor vehicle accident. She's coming through and she's talking about how the father is about to die. He's on hospice and all this stuff. She has all these other things to report. But in that moment, like, it was just interesting. The spirit went and brought up the mother that I had channeled, and there was no, I don't know. They know everything.
Oh my God, it's amazing. I'm going to switch gears because I have some really random ass questions for you that my wife has prepared earlier. All right. Your first random ass question is chocolate a vegetable? Chocolate comes from beans and all beans are vegetables.
I don't know. I don't like chocolate, but I like vegetables. So no. Maybe. It just depends. Milk chocolate is probably not. I wouldn't classify it because of how much sugar and milk we put into it. So it's more like it's dairy. We'll call it that.
All right.
Okay.
Deal.
But pure.
Okay.
Yes.
Your second question. If money doesn't grow on trees, then why do banks have branches?
Well, so they can hold up the skeleton of a failing financial system. There you go.
God, I love it. I love how much it's stumping you. Okay, this one's cute.
Yes.
When a block of cheese gets its photo taken, what does it say?
I don't know. Sharp? I'm looking sharp? I have no idea. That's what I would say. I'm looking sharp.
Oh my
It depends,
God.
I guess, if it's cheddar.
I love that. It's so good. Well, thank you so much for being here. I've loved chatting to you today.
You're welcome. You as well. Thank you for having me.
Of course.